Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with the next video in the alphabet series. We have arrived at the letter L. And these were your suggestions. Igor Govorushko, Raventoe and Joey P suggested Grigory Levenfish. Bent Larsen was suggested by Mr. Tomshi, Gil Rowley, Buxi Singh and Bent Römer Rador. Legal's Mate was suggestion from William Squires. And Gil also suggested A-Wonder Liang, his local hero in the state of Wisconsin in the US. Scoey Jordan said, why don't you make a video on Larsen's opening, 1, B2, B3. And Mateus Penteado from Brazil said, why don't you make a video on the holy city of Linares, which used to be the Wimbledon of chess. Unfortunately not anymore, but for many years Linares was the center of the chess world. Emmanuel Lasker was a suggestion from Buxi Singh, Tusin Baukhan and Subut JJ. And Buxi's had two more suggestions, Johan Löwenthal and Andor Lilienthal. Thank you very much for all your very nice suggestions, and when I reviewed them I fell in love with Andor Lilienthal. There's a nice story connected to him. So Lilienthal is a subject of this video about the letter L in the alphabet series. Andor Arnoldovich Lilienthal was born on May 5th, 1911 and passed away on May 8th, 2010, a few days after his 99th birthday. He was born in Moscow of Jewish origin and moved to Hungary at the age of 2. He played for Hungary in 3 chess Olympiads, in Folkestone in the UK in 1933, won 7 games, did not lose any and had 6 draws, and he played there as a reserve, but still got 13 games in. 2 years later in Warsaw in Poland he won 11 games and drew 8 on the second board, and in Sweden, Stockholm 1937 he won 9 games, lost 2 and drew 6 on the first board, leading his team to the silver medal. He won the individual gold medal for his board at the 1933 and 1935 Olympiads and had the 4th best result on first board in 1937, just missed out on a board medal that time. His total score in the Olympiads was almost 76%. Lilienthal emigrated to the Soviet Union in 1935 and became a Soviet citizen in 1939. He played in 8 USSR championships. His best result was in 1940, when he tied for first with Bondarevsky, ahead of Smyslov, Keres, Boleslavsky, Botvinnik and 14 other players. Lilienthal qualified for the candidates tournament only once, and that was in 1948. But he was Smyslov's second in his World Championship matches against Botvinnik in the 1950s. Lilienthal retired from tournament play in 1965 and returned to Hungary in 1976. His last tournament was in Zamardi in Hungary in 1980, but he remained actively involved in the chess world for the rest of his life and died on May 8, 2010 at the age of 99. He had been ill for some time. In his long career, Lilienthal played against 10 world champions, beating Emmanuel Lasker, José Raúl Capablanca, Alexander Alyoshin, Max Euwe, Mikhail Botvinnik, Vasily Smyslov and the female world champion Vera Menchik. At the time of his death he was the oldest living grandmaster and the last surviving person from the original group of grandmasters awarded that title by FIDE in the year 1950. And what about Andor Lilienthal and Bobby Fischer, chess favorite son? Bobby Fischer approved only 3 chess players who could carry his coffin at his funeral: Lajos Portisch, Boris Spassky and Andor Lilienthal. And it was Boris Spassky who gave this nugget of information in an interview. And when Fischer noticed Lilienthal in the audience at his 1992 return match against Boris Spassky, Fischer greeted him with the remark, "Pawn e5 takes f6. Yes, that's how Fischer used to greet people, with a chess move. And he referred to Lilienthal's most famous game, which we're going to look at now. It was played in the Hastings tournament of 1934-1935, a very famous tournament. White was under Lilienthal, black was the third world champion Jose Raul Capablanca, and white opened with a d-pawn. Knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, and we have a Nimzo Indian on the board. Here e3 is a very important move, and so is queen c2, but Lilienthal played a3 straight away. Kick that bishop. Capablanca took, b takes, white has gained a bishop pair, but has doubled pawns on the c-file. Here c5 is the main move, according to the database, but Capablanca played b6. f3 from Lilienthal, he wants to build a mighty center with e4. d5, Capablanca also gets a foothold in the center, and here c takes d5 is the main move, but bishop g5 was Lilienthal's choice in this game. Capablanca kicked that bishop, back to h4, and bishop a6, putting pressure on this pawn. Lilienthal played e4, and here black took on c4. He could also have taken on e4 instead, and let's look at this variation. Then white recaptures, and black wants to win a pawn. For the moment, knight takes e4 is not possible, because then the queen falls. So first g5 to unpin the knight, bishop g3, and then you can take on e4. Black has won a pawn, but white gets some compensation with bishop e5, followed by queen c2 and or bishop d3, and white will get an attack for the pawn. But as said, after e4, black did not take on e4, he took on c4. Bishop takes, d takes, and white will regain that pawn straight away with queen a4 check, with a double attack. Check and attacking that pawn. Queen d7, white regains the pawn, queen c6, and queen d3. Lilienthal does not want to swap the queens. Black develops, and so does white. Rook d8, Lilienthal castled, and a5. Queen c2, probably to take knight c5 and knight e5 out of the position. This pawn is now no longer pinned, because the queen went to c2. Queen c4 from black, and f4. Lilienthal is going to attack on the king side. Rook c8 from Capablanca, probably to look for counterplay with c7, c5. But as we'll see, black won't be able to get his counterplay on the queen side going. Lilienthal keeps going forward, f5, e5, d takes e5, and now there are many moves. Queen c5 check is a move, knight takes e5, regaining the pawn is a move, and also knight takes e4 is a move. There are all possible variations which all lead to positions that are somewhat better for white, but Capablanca goes for a fourth option. He takes on e4 with the queen, making use of the fact that Lilienthal's queen is unprotected on c2. And if you swap the queens, queen takes, knight takes, the position is roughly equal, but Lilienthal did not swap the queens. Look at this move, he's going to sacrifice his queen. E takes f6, a spectacular queen sacrifice, which Bobby Fischer remembered when he saw Lilienthal in 1992. What a move! And the engine approves of this queen sacrifice, played in 1935. In the game, Capablanca took on c2, and we'll see what happened next. He could also have taken on h4, take that bishop, win the piece back. Then we have this variation, f takes g7, rook g8, and f6. The pawn can be taken, and then queen f5, and white is winning. The black king in the middle of the board is too exposed in this open position with all the heavy pieces still on the board. So after e takes f6, queen takes h4 does not work out for black, and Capablanca took the queen, accepted the queen sacrifice. F takes g7 on the 21st move, rook g8, and now knight d4. It's attacking the queen, and it's also threatening rook e1. Either rook will do, which would lead to a quick checkmate. Well, let's first look at that checkmate, then we'll understand the position. Let's play a very bad move for black, a4. That doesn't make any sense, just to look at the mate, which comes on the board after rook a2 e1 check. You have to interpose the queen. Rook takes, you have to interpose the knight, that also gets taken. Now the king finally has a square on d7, rook d5 check, king e8, and then the other rook delivers the checkmate. This variation shows how vulnerable the king is in the middle of the board. So back to the position after knight d4, the queen is attacked and we threaten a checkmate combination. Black can play queen d2, but is lost, and let's show why he is lost. Queen d2 saves the queen, but there is still rook a2 e1 check. You have to interpose the knight, you have no other option. Rook takes e5 check, king d7, rook d5 check, king has to go back to e8, and here comes the other rook, rook e1 check, you have to give the queen. Bishop takes e1 and rook takes g7, and this is the end of the combination. The smoke has cleared and white has a winning endgame with bishop and knight for the rook. So back to the position from the game after knight d4. Capablanca did not play queen d2. He played queen e4 and gives back the queen straight away. Because here rook a2 e1 was played by Lilienthal with that skewer. Knight c5, rook takes queen, knight takes. Black is still material up, but here comes the second rook with the second skewer. Rook takes g7 was played by Capablanca. Lilienthal took the knight with check, and here on move 26 Capablanca resigned. The king has to go to d7, then there is rook e7 check, and if you go back to d8, what is the refutation of that move? Can you see it? Put the video on pause. We have a mate in one. I'm sure you found it. Knight c6 is a very nice checkmate. So after rook e7 check, the king has to go to d6 in the open field, and then white plays f6, attacking the rook, rook h7, bishop g3 check, king has to go up, and then bishop takes c7, and white is material up, and black's king is very vulnerable in the middle of the board. Black has no counterplay, the engine is on +5, so it is understandable that Capablanca resigned when he did. Lilienthal himself said, "Wherever I went on an exhibition tour, both in the Soviet Union and elsewhere, chess players and fans always asked me to show them how I sacrificed the queen against the great Cuban." And as I told you, when Bobby Fischer noticed Lilienthal in the audience at his 1992 return match against Boris Spassky, Fischer greeted him with the remark, "Pawn e5 takes f6. What a way to greet somebody. A famous win for Lilienthal. Even Bobby Fischer was impressed with this game, and I hope you liked it too. The next video in this series will be about the letter M, and I hope you will send me your suggestions. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel, and please leave a comment. I will read them all and I will reply to them all. If you like the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter and on Facebook. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.